Hello and welcome to podcast 16. So today I have three finished objects, 3 or 4 whips and no acquisitions because I showed those last week when I talked about Big Flock. So if you haven't seen it, I will post it up above so that you can pop in and watch my experience of Big Flock, but I'm still buzzing. I just love the weekend. So my name is Angela. This is the Angela Makes podcast. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I am so glad to have you here. As always, it has been really lovely chatting to you in the comments and hearing your views. In the last podcast, I had talked about testing and my experience of testing, and I got a few bits and pieces from testers or from designers as well, and I think it is really useful to have that conversation. A few of the designers had said to me, but there are people who sign up and then you never hear from them, so I think it is a really useful conversation to have, and I'll probably bring it up from time to time. I have finished a test knit today, so I'll talk a little bit about my experience in that test knit. So if we start with finished objects, and as you will see, I have the first finished object, not chronologically, but the first finished object on me. So this is the Lite Bright by Wool and Pine. And I had knit this in Irish Artisan Yarns. I had ordered their mystery bundle, so you got 3 skeins, and I ordered the DK yarn. And I had mentioned that I was wanting a tee, but I was struggling with a few, I think it was the gauge more than anything else. So I had come across the Lite Bright. It was a fade, which encouraged me then to use the 3 colours. I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest, on the 3 colours, but it does remind me of a seaside scene. So I'll put a video in so that you can see me standing up. The colour at the bottom is more of a green, but as I say, I'll put a video up and you can have a look at that. I would highly recommend the Lite Bright. I really enjoyed it. It is a plain tee. The raglan construction is a little bit different, and I do feel that that makes it fit so much better around the shoulders, and there's no real bulk here. You end up increasing differently whenever you get down to the bottom. I typically do my sleeves longer than this. But these actually are not tight at all. I sometimes find they're quite tight. I did a standard cast off. I didn't around the neck, but I did a standard cast off on the sleeves and on the bottom. One of the reasons I didn't do this any longer was that I only had 5 grams of this first colour that I used. I can't remember the order, but I will look back at my previous video and I'll put it in the description below. So in the Irish Artisan Yarns, there was 2 from their clubs last year, the year before. The Irish Skies Yarn Club in January, 1 from February, and then a one of a kind, and I can't remember which one was which. They're all superwash merino, 225 meters per 100 grams. This second blue colour, completely right to the last centimetre. I used every single part of it. And then the last colour, I had 20 grams left, but I am honestly considering adding in a bit of length. So I might add in a little bit of length on this just to give me that little bit extra over my, not my waist, over my hips. So I might do that. I do absolutely love the fit of this. I will definitely be making another one. The Irish Artisan Yarn was an absolute dream to work with. I have used it once before on a shawl, but the DK and the superwash merino was absolutely delightful. Really enjoyed knitting with it. And as I say, the construction of this Lite Bright I will absolutely do again. The pickup around the neckline as I think I've said before, I don't really like mine necessarily tight. I don't like it, and I like a little bit of loose. So I used the pickup that they suggested and I really like it. They do say that you can play about with that to get the fit of the neck that you want. So you could pick up a few more stitches and it would draw it in a little bit more, but I don't think this is in any way exposing for anyone, and I just like that it is a little bit lower and not right up to my neck. The back again sits really, really well. Are there short rows? Oh, you start by knitting the back separately. So yes, there are short rows because you start knitting it separately and then you begin joining the yoke. And then, as I say, when you get down to the increases, you do a slightly different increase when you're down here to the standard raglan. But I think that has just made it fit really, really nicely. So 100% you could do this in one colour. I have done size 4 and I have got it out of 3 skeins. So I think that was pretty good going. So because I had ran out of the blue, I had already started the fade. So I had started the fade into the blue in the sleeve, but then when I returned to do the ribbing on the sleeve, I just used this colour, but I don't think you can see it. I think that it has worked quite well. So again, you can play about and see what way it works, but because it's not coming down very low, I think it's okay not going into this blue. So, and the pattern does give you the option to do long sleeves. Obviously there is no way with 20 grams left that I would have got long sleeves, but I wanted a t-shirt, so this worked very well. But as I've said, I will do another one. I may do a long sleeved one because I do like the fit. So yeah, that's the Lite Bright by Wool & Pine and I absolutely love it. My second finished object was my own cowl. So I had shown you this the last time I had started it. I'd shown you the shawl. This was the cowl in the double knit. So we had a giddy yarn and a giddy ant yarn. This one was Winnie the Pooh, Pooh Sticks it was called, and this one was a Narnia colourway. So they're the two colourways. If I pop this on, you'll see that it sits really cozy and really nice. So I had a request to do the 4-ply version in this, so that is my intention next. One of my whips is a 4-ply in the shawl, so I will show you that when I get to that point, but this is the cowl. So I haven't the instructions completely finished. It will be the next podcast that I release the test knit. I have the shawl instructions written up and I'm just working through those for the 4-ply. And making sure that the calculations and the numbers are right, and then I will do the same. I'll write up the instructions for this and I will follow those for the 4-ply version, and as I say, I should be far enough by the next podcast to release a test knit. A few of you had already got in contact to say that you would really like to test knit it, so I really appreciate that and I will be back in contact with you. So as I say, this is my shawl, or my cowl, or cowlette maybe, not quite a cowl because it comes down into more of a V, and the shawl pattern will be coming out. So, I had finished the back, and again on the inside it's very, very similar. I need to cut the end of the thread there, but it's the same on both sides. So again, I will explain what I did, but it really doesn't matter because it's at the back of your neck, so you're not going to see it. But it just meant that you could wear it reversible and you didn't have to worry what way around you had it. So yeah, that was my other finished object, and I'll spend more time on those, going through that and going through the pattern whenever I have it written up. My other finished object was a test knit, and it was a test knit for Brenda Brayfield. Brenda had got in contact with me. She had watched one of the podcasts and seen that I test knit and asked would I like to join her group. So I said yes. At the minute, as I said in my last podcast, she is doing a petite possibilities and running through a number of one skein shawls. So this will be number 8, and it will be released on the 30th of May. So next weekend, and I will post about that again at that stage. But this is the shawl, and this is just gorgeous. So it's a faux cable. It looks like it's cable, but it's a faux cable, and it is so nice and easy to work. This particular one I had done in a 4-ply, a Molten Yarns Oddball, I think it was, and I held it double with a Malabrigo lace. I'll put the colours are on my Ravelry page, which when the pattern's released you will be able to see that. I followed the pattern instructions. It is written for 4-ply, but I followed the pattern instructions and measured my yarn as I went. And this, I think I had 5 grams left of the 4-ply. I couldn't have done another repeat, but all of my repeats are on my Ravelry page. You could have just kept going on the increases and then you would have had more of a triangle here, but I did 4 repeats, I think it was, of straight, which then gave me this tiny bit of a curve. But again, it's a nice long shawl. It's nice and cozy. If I pull it up, then I have quite long tails. Again, I typically, to save it going anywhere, I typically knot and push the shawl back over the knot, but this is just lovely. It would be absolutely glorious in 4-ply, and the way that Brenda writes her patterns, you could easily use 2 skeins of 4-ply and have a really nice big chunky scarf with this as well. But as I say, the idea with the petite possibilities is that you use 1 skein. So if you have any of those special skeins and you don't know what to do with, some of the petite possibilities ones are gorgeous, and I'll show you my progress on the Rostrevor one in my whips. So this particular one there will be an intro discount on it next weekend. So again, I will post that on my Instagram, and I will try to remember to also post that on YouTube, so that if you're not following me on Instagram, you get that update on YouTube as well. But there will be a nice discount on this for the intro weekend next weekend. But this one is just beautiful. This one will be called the Dromore Shawl. Brenda calls all of her shawls by towns and cities here in Northern Ireland. She was originally born in Northern Ireland and then emigrated to Canada and is living in Canada still. But my family have had a business in Dromore, County Down. There's 2 Dromores. There's a Dromore, County Down and a Dromore, County Tyrone. So the Dromore, County Down, my family have had a business there for 40+ years. So this just felt like a really lovely pattern to test knit. It feels very close to home for me, and it is absolutely stunning. So once again, the pattern's released, you will see all of the different versions that the testers have done, and there's some gorgeous ones in there. So on the test knit, Brenda runs her test knits on Ravelry, which was newish to me. I haven't done a lot of test knits on Ravelry. I find it a little bit more difficult to follow the thread of the conversation. However, it was a really lovely space to be in. Very, very supportive. Brenda got back incredibly quickly. if there were any questions or any issues, or which there weren't a lot of, I have to say, but she was very quick at getting back and replying even on the choice of yarn and different bits and pieces that we were asking. So it was a lovely space to be in, really nice test knit, really relaxed. And as I say, if you had any queries at all, the designer was back in contact very, very quickly. So highly recommend, if you're thinking of any test knits, to look out for Brenda Brayfield's if shawls are your thing. So that is all of my finished objects for this podcast. In terms of whips, or my works in progress, there are quite a few. I haven't frogged as many this time, which I am very proud of. So I will start with, I'll keep going with Brenda Brayfield's. So as I said the last time, I'm knitting this in a Drops Flora. So the Drops Flora is 65% wool, 35% alpaca, 50 grams, 210 meters. And I have knit quite a bit with these and I really, really like them. This colorway is color 21. So I have got to the point where I am at the middle. However, I'll show you the pattern on this first. So this obviously isn't blocked, but this is beautiful. I'm just checking, I'm showing you the right side. I really like the design on this. And again, it's repetitive enough that you can kind of keep going, other than keeping an eye on where your increases are. But once you know where your increases are, you don't really need to consult the pattern. Or at least I was able to memorize it. Whereas it looks like you're doing something quite different. So the pattern starts about here and ends here. I'm just about to start another pattern repeat. So as I said, I am about the middle according to the pattern. However, I had 2.5 skeins of this colour left in the same dye lot. So I'm going to do it a little bit bigger. And use up the yarn that I have. So I'm going to do another couple of repeats on this, and then do a straight section the same way that I did on the Dromore Shawl, and have it more as a curve in the middle. So I was chatting to Brenda about this particular shawl and how far I'd gotten, was I enjoying the pattern, and she has very kindly offered 3 of the Rostrevor pattern, so 3 of this pattern, to 3 of my viewers. So if you comment Rostrevor below, so I'll put the name up on screen, and you tell me what colour or what yarn or both that you would use for this particular shawl, and then I will leave it until I'm doing the next podcast and I'll pick 3 winners of the Rostrevor. So Brenda will, I will pass your details on to Brenda and she will attach the pattern to your Ravelry store. So 3 of the Rostrevor pattern to 3 viewers. If you comment Rostrevor below and the yarn and the colour that you would use to knit this up. It is absolutely beautiful. Her patterns are so detailed. You get tables to tick off your progress and to mark where your increases are. It's just really, really lovely. So as I say, thank you Brenda for offering that to the viewers, and I will definitely finish this. I love that pattern. So that's the Rostrevor. The other thing, when I was at Big Flock last weekend, I finished my vanilla sock, which I don't appear to have. So I was doing a completely vanilla sock. I should really have a sock blocker to put this on, but I don't. Completely vanilla shorty sock in Drops Fable. Can't remember the colour. I'll link the Ravelry page below and all the details will be there. So I have, this will take the 50 grams. But yeah, I'll just work away on that and that will be another vanilla sock. This is for a gift. But yeah, so that's another finished object. I don't have a huge amount to say. This one is a 72 stitch. I knit about 8 to 10 rows of 2x1 rib. I then knit another 10 rows between the rib and the heel. I do a heel flap and gusset, so a slip stitch heel, and then knit down and do the standard toe. So I have a tutorial up on YouTube of how I knit my socks, just in case anyone's interested, or your socks aren't quite working out and you want to watch another how someone else does it. Maybe there's a few things in there that would help your sock knitting. But this is just a completely vanilla sock, and I have my light bulb stitch markers in so that I know how many I need to do on the next sock. So that's my vanilla sock. There's not much more to say about that one. And then the other one that I have been actively working on is my Lady Violet, which I'm going to do short sleeved. So my last Lady Violet, which was my first Lady Violet, was in a dark colour, and it was near impossible to see the beautiful lace detail. So that's the lace detail that comes down the front of the raglan. The back is plain, and this particular one, I have a few more repeats to do of the lace panel and the raglan increases before I get to splitting. But I am doing this in Drops Nord in the colour 20. So this is the Drops Nord. It is a little bit thicker than the Drops Flora, and the Drops Nord is 45% alpaca, so a little bit less, 30% polyamide and 25% wool. There's 170 metres per 50 grams, whereas the Flora would be 210. So this would be really nice for a shawl as well, because it would just give you that extra little bit of weight. And I'm holding it double with the Yarn Smith's Kid Mohair Silk. This particular one is 212 metres per 25 grams, 74% Kid Mohair, 25% silk, and this is shade 3428. Together, that's the colour that I'm getting. So it's going to be really, really pretty. And as I say, I'm going to do short sleeves in this one. I'm not going to do long sleeved. Rachel and Joe twin satin pearl. So sorry, should have said that. The Lady Violet is a twin satin pearl pattern designed by Rachel. There is a Cal going on at the minute. So if you head on over to their podcast, again, I'll link it below. It's running from now until September. Don't quote me on that. Go and check their podcast, and I will put the date in the link below. Again, it's on Ravelry. They also have a Facebook group, and we're having a little bit of a chat to see what everyone's doing and the yarns they're using in the Facebook group. So you can join that if you want to as well. But as I say, if you're not on Facebook, the Ravelry group has the discussion in there. So I should get this finished. Maybe it's the end of July. It's maybe not the end of August, beginning of September. Could be the end of July. As I said, I will correct myself when I'm editing, and I'll put it up on screen. So that is my Lady Violet. So again, with this one, as with the last one, I am doing a 17 stitch gauge. So it's a 15 stitch gauge. I am doing 17. They suggest that you use 6mm needles. I'm using 5mm because I liked the fabric that was being created, and when I went up to 6mm I wasn't as keen. So I'm using 5mm. I'm getting about 16 and a half, 17 stitches, and I should be knitting size 1. But I am knitting size 2 so that it isn't, it fits the way that I want it to fit, which is what I had done with the previous one. Again, it was a 4-ply and a mohair, and I had knit size 2 on 5mm. So I'm following the same pattern, the same way that I had knit that one. This is knitting up lovely. I do struggle a little bit with the Drops Kid Silk Mohair, so I am really interested to see what this one is like against the skin, if I find that it's the same. It's not that I can't wear the Drops one, but I'm just wondering if this is a little bit different, so I will report back on that when it's finished and I have worn it a few times. So, Lady Violet, the sock, which is half finished, which is just a vanilla sock. The Rostrevor, which I will continue working on, especially now that my Lite Bright is finished. And then the other thing that I have been working on is my own shawl in the 4-ply. So at Big Flock last week in Bristol, I had purchased loom yarn. So this particular one was their alpaca silk cashmere. It is 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk and 10% cashmere. There's 400 meters per 100 grams, and this particular one was Harvest Bloom. So I'll show you the yarn now. So this is the yarn all skeined up. So I think I had shown it last week, or I'd shown it I think when I was still in Bristol, but there are some beautiful, beautiful colours. There's almost greens coming through, and then the roses, or what I'm saying is a rose pink. Some of you may say that it's a different colour. So that's the yarn, so soft, so gorgeous. I am using a 3.25 for this particular one, and this is what I have done so far. So I'm really, really liking how this is knitting up. As I said, it's completely reversible. It's the same on the front and on the back. I have a 3-stitch I-cord on the edge, and yeah, I'm still on section 1. I'm still increasing. I will increase until I have enough. It'll be less. It'll be more than 50% left, so that I can do a little bit of straight section. As I said, I kind of like that curve. And this, just for context, so this was the DK one. So as you can see, it is still really squishy, but this is it in a plain colour. So it just shows the versatility of the stitch and how it looks. I've said before, I wear a lot of black, so I tend to like my scarves to pop. This will certainly pop, but this is also lovely and professional for work, and will be a really nice wear winter or spring actually, or autumn. So I will continue working on that and updating the pattern. This is my first time using the loom yarn, and it is gorgeous, really, really nice. I will definitely get more of it. This will be done in one skein of the loom yarn. I needed 2 of the DK just to get it the right length and width, but that was probably about 400 meters, which is what I have here. So I should still end up with a lovely size shawl with one skein. Again, the pattern will be written that if you wanted to use 2, it would be very easy to have a really big, cozy, comfy, cuddly scarf if you were to use 2 of the 4-ply. You could even use 3 DK and have, again, a bigger, cozier scarf, but I personally wouldn't need it. But if you really like a big chunky scarf, then that would be another option in the DK one. But for this, as I said, I decided this was the reason why I had bought the loom yarn. I really thought that it would be lovely in this particular pattern, and I am loving it. So the silk cashmere in this and with the combination is lovely. So this particular one at the show was £22, which I thought was really reasonable given that it was silk cashmere. And so far, as I say, loving the yarn. and enjoying working with it. So I will continue to knit on that so that I can get the pattern where I want it to be, so that we can use it for the test knit. And I will then start a 4-ply version of the cowl. The 4-ply version of the cowl, I should also say, I'm going to do it in a plain yarn, a plainer yarn as well, so that again, and it shows the difference that the different yarn can make. So whether you have one that is really, really patterned, or whether you have one that is a lot less patterned and a much plainer yarn. So I want to show those different options within the samples that I have. So I will update you on those. So what else did I... So I had started initially saying, or I had a section on what was catching my eye. So in this particular podcast, I wanted to share what I plan to do next. So I know I have an awful lot of whips, but there is a pattern that I am going to start. And it is the Summer Sorrel by Wool & Pine, and the yarn I had got for it at Bristol. So if you remember, I had got a fade. I haven't skeined any of this up yet. It is also not in the order of the fade, as you can see. But this is what I had got from Pixie Yarns. So it was one of their, I was going to say advent there, it wasn't their advent. It was one of their yarn clubs, and this was the first 6 colours. So now that the Lite Bright is finished, as I say, I will be continuing to work on the Lady Violet, but I do really want to cast on the Summer Sorrel. So the only thing I can't quite decide is whether I will go from dark to light or light to dark. So I'll have a bit of a think, because as I said, I imagine I might only need 5 of the colours. But I also don't know whether to use the 6, and then I'd have enough left for socks or for adding into a scrappy shawl, possibly. So yeah, I'm constantly sitting looking at them, swapping them in order of colour, and trying to work out, do I want the dark at the top, do I want the light at the top, and what way am I going to do the fade? Am I going to use 5 colours or 6 colours? So hopefully by the next podcast I'll be able to update you on that bit, and I will have made a decision. But that's the next thing that I really want to cast on. The Summer Sorrel by Wool & Pine. And again, it's a short sleeved one. And yeah, so Summer Sorrel is about to start. So I think that's it for today. I hope you're all well. I hope you're enjoying your knitting or your crafting or whatever it is that you're doing. And remember to comment down below Rostrevor and the colour or the yarn that you would like to knit the Rostrevor in. And there will be 3 winners, 1 pattern each, at the next podcast. So good luck, everyone. Thank you so much for following along and for joining me on this knitty journey, and I will see you the next time. Bye!